We continue our story in the control room of Jurassic World. Remember in the last part, Vic Hoskins brought his mercenaries to hunt down Goliath Grimlock here. So Claire, entering the control room, is trying to make sure that every creature in the paddock is locked up. However, she starts seeing things of, military personnel moving things out of a certain lab here. And this is where Vic Hoskins walks in, tells them that they're going to be under his command until the threat is neutralized. And this is where he tells them not to interfere under any circumstances. Claire tells him that he's going to tear apart the entire island just to get one specimen that failed. That he couldn't control here. And this is where Vic Hoskins tells her, or at least Hoskins, tells her here that the asset is under control here. It just has to be put down or captured. Depending on how they do it, maybe those lethal rounds may hit a few snags along the way here. However, this is where we pan over to the forest, where we actually see at least 20 of these highly trained military men with lethal rounds just searching, patrolling through the jungle, actually following the footprints that Goliath left behind. And one of the troopers reports that it's bigger. Then we head over back to the observation room, where Dr. Wu walks in telling Claire he needs her in the laboratory here. Claire, unfortunately and reluctantly, goes into the laboratory, actually asking Dr. Wu how could he condone such a thing? How could he actually allow this to go down? If Maserati gets here and he doesn't have anything to use, it's going to be over for everybody here on this island who needs this job. And this is where Dr. Wu says, actually, it's a lot more than you think here. And he holds out he pulls out a, what's it called? An iPad, right? He pulls out an iPad. And he shows a DNA. And this is where Claire wonders, what is this? She asks, what is this? And Dr. Wu conveys that this is Goliath's DNA. To which Claire says, wait a minute, I thought it had multiple strands. To which Dr. Wu says, yes, it did. But for some reason, it completely changed, creating a whole new species. We would then pan over back to the soldiers. They're all... they feel like they're getting closer as they hear munching noises, and they actually smell burning meat here. And as they approach here, this is where we actually would see Goliath munching down on a cooked Sinoceratops kill that he, obviously made, right? And as the troops get closer, they try to stealthily, place themselves here. Unfortunately, one of them steps on a twig, and Goliath looks up, to which he begins to unleash absolute hell upon these soldiers here. They're trying everything, and I mean everything. These guys have armor piercing rounds. These guys have tank shells, RPGs that could easily destroy, entire tanks and stuff. And it does nothing here. They're even screaming through the mics and stuff. They're screaming through, their walkie-talkies and stuff, asking, what the heck is this thing? We didn't sign up for this. However, when Goliath breathes fire, this is where everything kind of just goes completely left here. They're panicking. Some are running. Some are trying to escape. However, Goliath is actually quite agile and is able to jump around and actually comes crashing down on one of the soldiers trying to run away. He begins to tear them apart, eat them, burn them, crush them. Everything that he wants to do here. And Hoskins, seeing this from the control room, as long as with the other workers here, are absolutely horrified, as Goliath even goes to the last worker and simply pounces at such an astonishing speed that it makes everybody jump. And as he crushes the last one and begins to devour him, he lets out a terrifying roar that's not even heard from, not only from the radios, but is heard across the entire island. And it causes everything to go silent. To which Claire says, well, I guess that went about as expected. To which Claire says, so what's the plan now, Hoskins? And Hoskins is frozen in fear. He can't even utter words. However, this is where Goliath turns back into his human form, and he grabs the radio, telling Hoskins he'll be seeing him soon, and crushes it. and even crushes the last camera that was set up in this area. And this is where we would actually see Goliath simply walk off with the remains of his kill and go back to the old observatory, which he has converted into a somewhat of a small home. He drops the kill, and then this is where a Dilophosaurus family comes out and begins feeding on it, with the mother of the Dilophosauruses nuzzling him as he proceeds to walk off. And this is where he actually heads over to a computer that he was able to not only fix up, but make sure it's operational and connected to the Jurassic World grid. This is where he begins to fully hack into InGen's files, as now that he has everything completed, and he's eating whatever, parts of the Sinoceratops he decides to take for himself here. He sees all the InGen's files, but he can't break into the classified area. He finds out that there's a facility that was just evacuated. Things that are just, the facility was just wiped clean, cleared and everything. Seeing that as a questionable adventure, if you will, he turns back into his Goliath form he walks out of his place and turns back into his Goliath form, and then begins to make way. It doesn't take him long. He passes through some herbivores that do back away. Some of them run and take defensive positions, but he makes his way to the facility where he finds a busted and open container with a couple of dead bodies around it, and he ignores this for right now. However, his senses are on high alert here as he begins to open a file cabinet and finds out there's a ton of files in here, and he reads them. Tyrannosaurus Rex, there's hybrids, there's Titanoboa, there's a Vistatosaurus Rex project that was labeled top secret, meaning that this creature was kept on a hush, and is actually in one of the few areas in Isla Sorna? He even has a file on him, which is weird because he was only created about a week ago. Or maybe while he was being created, they actually thought about these things to give him. He finds it very interesting, but as he goes through these files and actually begins to read them, he hears a couple things. For starters, he hears a truck pull up, but he continues to ignore that. And as he reads the files even further, he begins to see human dinosaur hybrids and how he was the only successful test. And the beginning of this research actually came from a person known as Dr. Kurt Connors, who we all know as the Lizard, and actually sees how he experimented on himself, but his creation was a bit more successful, and only following his formula was Goliath even born. We would then pan over to a creature's vision. It sees Grimlock or Goliath in infrared here. And just as, Grimlock is done reading the file, as he packs it up in his own little bag, he gets pounced on. The creature known as E750, or the Scorpius Rex, begins to attack Grimlock and actually begins to bite him. However, the bite doesn't go through his skin, and instinctually, he rams the Scorpius Rex through a wall here. And actually, he keeps going and going and going. Actually goes through a couple walls here. And then he slams his full weight on him and actually bites the Scorpius Rex's throat. And it actually pierces the skin just a little bit, causing the Scorpius Rex to roar out in pain. And because of this high frequency sound and stuff, it actually disorientates Grimlock for a while for the Scorpius Rex to, shoot a quill at him. However, the quill bounces off his skin and simply lands on the floor. This is where Grimlock begins to simply just wail on the Scorpius Rex like it's absolutely nothing, actually causing, bones to crack. Whether it's his or the Scorpius Rex's is unknown. But he begins to thrash the creature and actually sends it flying through a couple walls, to which he actually just looks at himself in shock as he didn't know he was that strong in his human form. But the Scorpius Rex does recover and actually fixes its jaw, which was actually the one that was broken by the blows here, and it actually slinks off into the darkness of the facility. And Grimlock actually looks at the quill on the ground. He actually, walks back to the room, grabs the files, and sniffs the quill. He notices that it's covered in poison, which he finds strange. However, he hears at least 4 guns being cocked behind him, turns around and actually sees that it's Hoskins and 4 other military personnel, to which Hoskins says that you caused yourself quite a bit of trouble here. Why don't you just hand over the files, come with us peacefully, and we can negotiate you possibly working for me again. To which Grimlock laughs at this, telling him that he trusted him with everything, his life, his care, his health, and you betrayed him. To which Hoskins says, you were perfect. You've always been perfect. And Grimlock simply just scoffs at him, saying that that's not the reason that you chose him. You chose him because he was way more beneficial or way less of a risk than using a random citizen. That his blood was just perfect for some experiment. To which Hoskins reiterates that, yeah, he was perfect. However, the Scorpius Rex rises up behind him and, behind Hoskins and his troops here. And it snatches one of the soldiers, dragging him and slinking him away into the darkness here. This is where Hoskins and the others begin to panic. Hoskins actually pulls out a pistol and begins shooting at the Scorpius Rex, actually destroying some of the lights that actually remained on within the facility. This is where Grimlock actually makes way and actually uses his Goliath form within the building to actually collapse a good section of it to where they really can't even get out. And this is where he makes his way outside the facility and he spots the Jeep that they came in, picks it up, and throws it at the entrance of the facility. And just to add insult to injury, he begins to burn and melt the truck slowly, melting the metal, pretty much just the metal, a part of it, actually encasing it around the entranceway. And just as Hoskins and the 2 remaining soldiers just make their way there, Hoskins can't believe that he's stuck in here. And he yells to Grimlock that he's going to pay for this. We then wrap it up with just Grimlock smiling as he hears Hoskins and the soldiers scream and tells them best of luck with their latest experiment. And that's where we're going to leave it off here, you guys. Do you guys think Hoskins survived? Do you think he was able to find a way out of the facility? Did the other soldiers die? Does the Scorpius Rex remain in the story? But hey, that's going to be all today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I'll see you guys for Chapter 3. Peace.